Huddle Up Podcast is sponsored by Arena Eats. Log on to the website arenaeats.app, that's arenaeats.app, for the ultimate fan experience. At your favorite sports venue, Arena Eats mobile app, pre-order, express pickup, and in-seat delivery. How do you place your order? Before we get to the NFL picks for the weekend, we're at the midway point of the NFL season, and been some surprising things, been some not so surprising things. So I want to just kind of go maybe some winners and losers of the first half of the NFL year. Maybe look at who we think the MVP to this point is, and maybe like offensive rookie of the year or something like that. You know, for winners, I mean, I think you're looking at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They haven't been perfect, but it feels like they're starting to put it together a little bit and improve week by week. The Green Bay Packers, you know, I sat here on our preview show, and I was like, you know, they're going to hit the midway point, they're going to hit the trade deadline, you know, and they're going to be looking to, you know, to be sellers at the deadline. They're going to move Aaron Rodgers. His time in Green Bay's done. And boy, could I not have been more wrong about the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, I remember. I remember that show.
Yeah, that wasn't great. It wasn't great for me. But you know, Green Bay, you got to consider them to be a winner. You're looking in the AFC. I think you know, the Bills and Dolphins, but definitely the Dolphins. They made the switch to Tua. They pick up another win, the 3-game win streak. You know, they're looking like a team that has potential to win that division. And I mean, the Pittsburgh Steelers sitting at 7-0. So two teams from each conference, Sean, that I think have done pretty well for themselves here in the first half of the year.
Oh, well, definitely. I mean, I think there's two winners that people expected to be winners. Obviously, the Chiefs sitting at 7-1 right now atop the West, and of course Seattle, also a one-loss team. Nothing to hang your hat on being a one-loss team at this point. I was going to point out the Green Bay would be a big winner for me to this point, just to kind of you know, rub that in your wounds a little bit. Miami, I don't really know how to feel. I feel like you know, like you said, 4-3. This is a team defensively that looks really strong. They're making great plays on special teams. They're starting to believe in themselves. What concerns me is, you know, you didn't see a lot from Tua. You saw his first touchdown pass. Other than that, you know, I saw some ratings as far as, you know, all those like analytics and who, you know, catchable balls, and you know, they throw everything else in that you know, they had him rated pretty low as like an efficient passer. May have been some of the game script a little bit, but I got to say, I didn't see a lot of zip on the ball. I saw a lot of accuracy, but a lot of those balls look very interceptable. I don't know what you're going to see here. I'm worried that maybe that switch to Tua might be what kind of prevents them from doing just that. But definitely at 4-3 at this point in the season, you got to say it's a win for them. You know, teams like the Bears, you know, how real are they? The Saints, I think, are winners at this point for seemingly, you know, a lot of the games not looking uber impressive at times, you know, being down arguably your best player for pretty much the whole year, to be sitting here at 5-2 and a chance to, you know, if you can pull off a win here, if Michael Thomas plays, whatever the scenario is, if you can pull off a win here in Tampa this weekend, you know, you're sitting right on top of your division again. And, you know, people start to question, like, is it Tom's year? So you got a chance to kind of put a statement there. Big winner right now, though, I mentioned Seattle, Arizona Cardinals, Kyler Murray, another example of a winner so far for me. Kyler Murray seems to have kind of silenced critics, at least for a while. I think you're still going to see some people make fun of his mechanics and his accuracy a little bit. But with what he does with his legs, it's real hard. You know, people are real quick to forgive an interception here or there when you're running for 120 yards and a touchdown every week. You can kind of just hang a pick.
I wish I knew what that was like.
Yeah, nice.
I'd kill for a quarterback that threw for 100 yards every week at this point.
Yeah. Big surprising thing for me, before I shoot it back over to you, I'd say One thing I've noticed, and I think maybe the lack of fans plays into it a little bit, is typically in the NFL, I feel like you see a little more parity. And there have been upsets. There have been weeks where, somebody go, hey, maybe that team's for real. Oh, never mind. And we had those kind of surprising twists and turns. But when you're looking at the records and you're looking at, kind of who's shuffling where, I think the middle of the road teams, those teams that like with the fan base behind them, and a chance to play, their tougher games at home, maybe rally to beat teams with some crowd noise. You're not seeing that, and I think maybe the lack of noise and attention sometimes takes that upset ability out of it. And I think as a whole, you're seeing the teams that you would expect to win. The games where we're seeing the upsets are kind of more like middle tier and close matchups. You're just not seeing, the Jacksonville Jaguars pull that, surprising upset against the Kansas City Chiefs, because I feel like skill sets are just kind of starting to kind of play things out the way we're seeing it. So there's still plenty of good games every week, and there's a lot of close match games. But unfortunately, we're not really seeing that parity. So the NFL as a whole kind of loses out a little bit there,
Sure.
as do that kind of lower middle tier team that might have won just enough to get into the playoffs, may now finish a few games out. But I don't know. I'm glad to see football, and I don't know, any surprises you've seen.
I mean, my Cowboys would probably be the one that has been most surprising, and I mean, obviously, you never plan for an injury like happened to Dak Prescott, but just for as bad as they played with Andy Dalton under center, for as bad as the defense, I don't think the defense was ever expected to be, the stronghold of this team this year. But for as bad as they've been. And then, not even having the guts to stand up for a quarterback that gets his head taken off. That's one of my bads and surprising things of the first half of the year is just, how lost they are. And apparently, Dak Prescott, much more important to that team than I think anybody cared to realize. If you're the Dallas Cowboys, you have a really hard choice now. Because if the season continues to progress how it is, you're going to end up with right now, I think they're sitting at the number 6 pick. It doesn't look like it's getting much better. So if you're going to have a top 5, top 6, top 7 pick, you got to make a choice there. Are you going to commit to Dak Prescott and start to put some defensive positions in place? Your offensive line has zero depth. There's a lot of rebuilding in this Dallas Cowboys team, so they're going to have a lot of choices. In front of them. Then one of my bads and maybe surprises as well, Sean, would have to be the New England Patriots. I thought with Cam Newton, I expected them to be a little bit competitive, and after a pretty decent start, that team has realistically just kind of fell off the cliff to the point where it's like, do you even continue to play Cam? Do you throw another quarterback out there? Do you put it in the tank? And maybe keeping Cam in is putting it in the tank, and you're trying to get in that Trevor Lawrence sweepstakes. I mean, it's going to be a hard thing to catch up to the Jets, because they probably will not win a game for as bad as they are. But otherwise, those are my surprises and negative things in the first half: the Cowboys and the Patriots.
Yeah, I'd say if you're kind of a gutsy better and you're kind of playing with the trends, maybe get your money in now. Bet on the New York Jets twice, 2 games, one at New England, one hosting New England. Maybe this is the effort to throw in the towel. And part of me said, let's maybe we bench Cam Newton, like a really throw in the towel. And then I thought, well, why would you do that? Get a young rookie in there that might accidentally win a game? I don't think so. You already have a quarterback that can't win a game. We know what defenses know what Cam Newton looks like, and unfortunately for him, and unfortunately for that offense and that fan base, it hasn't looked that different. I thought maybe with kind of the inventiveness of that coaching staff, maybe the ability to use his size, but then also get things downfield. But now you're starting to see injuries pile up for him too, and I think as good as that defense has looked at times, they may start dragging too. Not as much depth as we thought they'd have this year. I'm not saying they're going to take a slide here, and I don't think Bill Belichick wants to lose any games and kind of mar that career record of his. But tanking for Trevor would solve the problem of replacing Tom Brady. It's not out of the realm of possibility. I don't really see that happening. Like you said, the Jets are awful. The fact that, I made a point the other week for fantasy irrelevant touchdown was the Jets scoring a touchdown, and then the following week they didn't score any.
They heard you. They're like, we don't want to be on that.
They're like, well, that's true. We don't want to be on that show. We'll just keep kicking field goals and call it a day.
That's all right.
But,
we don't want the Jets on our show either.
But yeah, and
Huddle Up Podcast is sponsored by Arena Eats. Log on to the website arenaeats.app, that's arenaeats.app, for the ultimate fan experience. At your favorite sports venue, Arena Eats mobile app, pre-order, express pickup, and in-seat delivery. How do you place your order?
And I'm going to have you hear me out on this. I think one winner, and it's a stretch, are the Philadelphia Eagles, and here's why. You have a team that, as bad as the Cowboys have been dismantled with injuries, has also been dismantled with injuries. Now you're starting to see guys get healthier. You're starting to kind of figure out what you had in your receiving core. Nobody's now clamoring for Alshon Jeffrey to show up. You've lost Zach Ertz, but Goddard's back out there. You get a chance to see what he can do. And you're going to have Miles Sanders coming back here probably after the bye. And even if not, Boston Scott has played pretty well in his absence. So you have an offense that's kind of starting to click. You have a defense that has the second place in the league in sacks in Brandon Graham, a secondary that has, for the most part, played way better than people expected. You almost had a win against Baltimore. With the exception of Chase Claypool blowing off the face of the earth, you played really well against Pittsburgh and you beat San Francisco with no one on your roster. And now you're sitting here, and everybody's been bashing this NFC East and their records and how, these teams, you can't have a team under 500. Now your first place team's a half game under 500. And if you can just play a better than 500 record from this point forward, which, by the way, includes 3 games against the NFC East. So you're looking at Giants football team, Cowboys for 3 of those games. If you win all 3 of those, you're sitting real good. What's that?
It's like the trifecta from hell.
But when you're looking at a schedule and you need some wins, it looks pretty good. I think the Eagles are sitting at a point where they could easily finish 9-7, and kind of take the NFC East. Are they going to? Time will tell. But that's why I consider them winners. I think they're sitting at a really good spot here and a chance to really get their wheels moving in the right direction at the right time.
I wouldn't disagree with you on that, Sean. I think they have benefited from the Dak Prescott injury and the Cowboys' poor defensive play, and Washington being Washington and the Giants being the Giants. Mm-hmm. That all that said,
you can win with luck.
Sure, and with all that said, I mean, I look at it that an Eagles team that, with an exception of a couple of, really poor offensive line plays and a rookie quarterback that was a little overmatched. The Eagles didn't impress me all that much against the Cowboys this past week. So yeah, they'll probably win the NFC East. But what it'll look like when you actually get to that postseason will be another story. But we'll watch it play out here over the next 8 weeks or so. And really, the 2 other kind of categories. I think MVP is a fairly easy one. I think Russell Wilson is your leader at this point. I don't think there's anybody else that's making a stronger case than Russell Wilson for MVP at this point.
No, absolutely not. Now, obviously, as it shakes out, unfortunately for Russell, there are some teams. There's a team chasing him and a quarterback that may have outplayed him in a head-to-head matchup in Kyler Murray. I don't know that but the thing is if Kyler may not put up the numbers that Russell Wilson is, but if they finish with a better record for some reason, win the NFC West, Russell Wilson could kind of they're chasing him. Only a game behind. They still get to play another time. It could be a scary thing for Russell Wilson there because Kyler Murray's just as important to that Arizona team as Russell Wilson is to the Seahawks. But Russell's just, and the thing is, I think people take Russell for granted because he's made it look so easy for this many years. That
I'd agree.
People just expect it to happen. Like, he's going to do, it's almost like a Michael Vick effortlessness to his passing where it's just kind of like, I'll just take a few steps and there's a 60-yard on a rope. touchdown. And people were like, yep, that's Russell. And unfortunately for his credit, it's the reason why 0 MVP votes to this point in his career, which to me is absolutely mind-boggling. If there's a stat in the NFL over the last decade that baffles me more, nothing on the field will baffle me more than Russell Wilson never receiving an MVP vote. There are voters in the Pacific Northwest, by the way, that watch him play every week.
Right. How does that happen?
How does anyone in Seattle not vote for Russell Wilson?
And
I just don't understand.
I know my pal Ernest Christian, he's been banging the drum on Russell Wilson for a long time. And if you don't want to say that this guy's the undisputed MVP every single season, that's fine. But for him not to get a vote at any point in his career is just absolutely baffling. He is so good, and typically in a position where you have taller guys that kind of command the view of the field. I mean, he's a smaller guy, and that's why I thought coming out of college, I didn't think he was going to be what he has become. But yeah, he is just absolutely special. And then like offensive rookie of the year, we've had a couple of great candidates. For me, I'm super impressed with Joe Burrow and what he's done so far in Cincinnati, and I mean, I think that the least number of yards he's thrown for in a game is like 280. This week he put up over 400.
Yeah, I think he's been at least over 250, 270 every week.
This week I think he put up 400 yards in a win against Cleveland. I mean, he's looking good. He has young receivers there. In a situation for a long time that you had a head coach, you couldn't figure out how he still had a job. You had players that were just trying everything they could to get out of Cincinnati, and now all of a sudden, that team. I'm not saying that they're great and they're not going to necessarily challenge for the division this year, but you start to put a few more pieces around Burrow in this offense and these young receivers, and I think there may be something building here in Cincinnati.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I think, unfortunately for him, it's not one of those scenarios where we've seen in the past where you get some good rookie quarterbacks that come out and they wind up in a division where it's very winnable. For years, the AFC South was kind of this, well, if Andrew Luck, why not Andrew Luck? Nobody else really wants to win. And it just kind of was that, post Peyton Manning, like who's going to take this over kind of scenario. Unfortunately for Joe Burrow, good news is the Browns are there. That's the good news. You just lost a shootout to them, but there's no reason why you can't finish ahead of the Browns.
No.
If not this year, at least in years to come. The bad news is you have a very good Baltimore Ravens defensive team and a superstar in Lamar Jackson. You have a Pittsburgh Steelers unit that has a tremendous defense. Now, obviously, the big question mark in Pittsburgh is how long is Ben going to play and who's going to fill his shoes when he's gone. So you folks hoping to ride Chase Claypool into your Dynasty League glory, just remember that scenario's coming. But
not a big Mason Rudolph believer there, Sean?
Yeah. I don't think Mason Rudolph's a Mason Rudolph believer. But I'll say this: Joe Burrow has impressed the hell out of me. I think the kid's real good. He's got moxie. He likes to win. He wants to put his team in positions to win. That team just hasn't had a lot of kind of get up and go. He's put his team in position. It's just a matter of getting over that hump. I think a guy that may challenge him by year's end, and it just may have to do with total numbers. He didn't start immediately to start the season, but Justin Herbert out in Los Angeles. Keep on to say San Diego, but the Chargers. That guy's putting on a show, and it's I think it's a bit flashier than Joe Burrow's. Obviously, and it's not that unsimilar of a situation. I mean, you have a Keenan Allen that he's got throwing the ball to, but technically Joe Burrow has an AJ Green, kind of that aging veteran center of the offense. Both guys have a lot of young ones underneath. Mike Williams is loving having Herbert there, a chance to stretch the field. And I think the fact that both quarterbacks have lost starting running backs at various points in the season, and have still kind of been like, "Yep, put them on my shoulders, coach. I got it." Been pretty impressive to watch both those young men play.
Huddle Up Podcast is sponsored by Arena Eats. Log on to the website arenaeats.app, that's arenaeats.app, for the ultimate fan experience. At your favorite sports venue, Arena Eats mobile app, pre-order, express pickup, and in-seat delivery. How do you place your order?